There are ancient cities across our planet that vanished from history for centuries before being discovered once again. Hidden deep within jungles, buried beneath desert sands, concealed in remote mountains, or forgotten beneath layers of earth and stone, these places remained unknown to much of the world for generations. Nature slowly reclaimed many of them, covering temples, palaces, and entire streets with forests, dust, and vegetation until only ruins remained. Yet, despite their abandonment, these lost cities continue to reveal clues about powerful civilizations that once built remarkable monuments, advanced societies, and vast trade networks. Today, we explore some of the most extraordinary lost cities ever discovered, where the remains of forgotten civilizations still whisper stories from the distant past. Machu Picchu, Peru. Among the Andes Mountains of Peru, Machu Picchu appears through the mist like an Inca fortress hidden by time, both magnificent and difficult to fully understand. In 1911, American explorer Hiram Bingham surveyed the site after being guided there by Agustin Lizarraga, a local farmer who had known the ruins long before. Inside the ancient city are temples, palaces, and irrigation systems built with sophisticated engineering, showing how well the Inca understood stone, water, and mountain terrain. What makes the place mysterious is that no Inca records clearly explain the true purpose of Machu Picchu, leaving every theory still open to research and debate. Many researchers believe the city was abandoned before or during the Spanish conquest of Peru, but the real reason still remains an unanswered question. Sigiriya, Sri Lanka. On a giant rock rising above the jungle of Sri Lanka, this place feels like a sky fortress built by a king who wanted to turn nature into a throne. In the 5th century, King Kashyapa chose it as a fortified palace, with gardens, pools, walls, and paths leading to the top of a rock about 660 feet high. To reach the palace above, ancient people had to pass through huge stone lion paws, then follow narrow stairways clinging to the vertical cliff. Inside the complex, frescoes, polished shining walls, and an advanced water system still show that Sigiriya was not only a fortress, but also an ambitious work of art. But after Kashyapa was defeated, this place slowly lost its power, leaving one question behind. Why was such a magnificent palace abandoned deep in the jungle? Anai, Turkey. On a cold plateau near the Armenian border, this place appears like a stone ghost city, where the wind moves through the broken walls of a once wealthy capital. In the 10th and 11th centuries, it was the capital of the Armenian Bagratid Kingdom, stood on a branch of the Silk Road, and was once called the city of 1001 churches. Its prosperity can still be seen in double city walls, stone gates, a great cathedral, palaces, and religious buildings mixing Armenian, Georgian, and Islamic influences. But after conquests, the earthquake of 1319, and the shift of trade routes, Ani slowly lost its life and was abandoned by the 17th century. So, among empty grassland and a deep ravine, the remaining ruins do not only tell the story of a vanished city, but also preserve the fragile memory of a golden age. Angkor, Cambodia. Hidden within the jungles of Cambodia, Angkor was not only swallowed by trees for centuries, but also forgotten because much of its memory decayed with ancient leaves, wood, and manuscripts. Its most famous temple was brought back to wider attention by Henri Mouhot in 1860, though behind its grandeur lies a long transformation from a Hindu sanctuary for Vishnu into a Buddhist temple. Giant tree roots, gripping the stone walls, create a haunting paradox, as nature both tears apart the sandstone structures and keeps many ruins from collapsing completely. Although the city may once have supported around 1 million people, almost no written records survived, forcing historians to reconstruct its story through carvings, stones, and buried infrastructure. LiDAR surveys later revealed that the visible temples are only the surface of a much larger buried urban network, as if Angkor is still hiding most of its story beneath the forest. Pompeii, Italy. Pompeii was not only destroyed in 79 AD, but also sealed by volcanic ash, like silent evidence of the moment an entire city was cut away from history. The oxygen-poor ash preserved streets, villas, wall paintings, and daily objects, making this place feel like an intact slice of ancient Roman life. The most haunting mystery lies in the human-shaped voids, where the victims' bodies disappeared, but their final positions remained printed in hardened ash like shadows of despair. Wealthy houses, found strangely empty of gold and silver, suggest that after the disaster, some people may have dug into the still hot buried city to steal, making its history even darker. Although Pompeii has been excavated for more than 250 years, part of the city still lies underground, as if it has not yet finished telling what it witnessed. Tikal, Guatemala. Deep inside Guatemala's jungle reserve, Tikal is not only a Maya ruin, but a city that disappeared from human sight until survey groups reached it in 1848. The first photographs from 1882 showed temples, plazas, and pyramids still buried under dense jungle, as if nature had deliberately locked away the city's memory. About 1,500 years ago, this place was a major center of power, with thousands of structures and temple tops used for religious rituals. Later, LiDAR discoveries revealed strange structures beneath the canopy, raising questions about urban networks, outside influence, and parts of history still unexcavated. When Tikal was abandoned around 1,100 years ago during the Maya decline, the jungle turned its palaces, tombs, and political secrets into a silent maze. Hatra, Iraq. On the barren plains of Iraq, Hatra appears like a stone capital that once forced Rome to retreat, even though two major sieges in 116 and 198 AD used elite armies. This city worshipped the sun god, but accepted many beliefs, where Greek, Roman, Arab, and Persian gods appeared together inside its temples. Doorways and stone columns covered with human faces, Medusa and mythical creatures create the feeling that the whole city is staring at whoever enters. Although Hatra was almost impossible for Rome to conquer, it was destroyed in 241 by the new Persian Empire, while the legend of royal betrayal still makes its fall darker. After centuries of being forgotten because of its isolation, Hatra was only excavated in the 20th century, but empty treasure stores and many undeciphered Aramaic inscriptions still make the city seem to guard its final secrets beneath the desert sand. Babylon, Iraq. Beside the Euphrates River that once sustained Mesopotamia, Babylon appears like the ruins of a city that turned power, astronomy, and belief into symbols that amazed the ancient world. Through the base 60 system, the Babylonians left their mark on the way humans divide 1 hour into 60 minutes and a circle into 360 degrees. Its double walls, blue-glazed gates, and temple towers rising from the desert make the city feel half historical and half legendary, where ancient grandeur is still covered by an atmosphere of mystery. Beneath temple foundations, clay boxes containing eclipse predictions reveal astonishing astronomical knowledge, yet the way they achieved such precision is still debated. When the Euphrates changed course, royal tombs were found empty, and Alexander the Great died here after ignoring priestly warnings. Babylon became the symbol of a brilliant empire whose mysteries still remain unfinished. Petra, Jordan. In the narrow sandstone canyon of Jordan, Petra appears like a rose-colored city once hidden by the desert, where the Nabateans built a thriving capital more than 2,000 years ago. What allowed this place to survive in dry land was its network of dams, channels, and underground cisterns, helping control flash floods and save every drop of water for tens of thousands of residents. The cliffs carry bands of red, pink, orange, yellow, and white, so under changing daylight, the whole city seems to shift colors between stone and fire. A legend about treasure inside the stone urn once led nomads to shoot holes into the famous facade. But what remains is not gold, only the mark of mistaken belief across centuries. After earthquakes and changing trade routes, Petra was abandoned and quietly preserved by the Bedouin, until the 19th century brought it back as an archaeological mystery of the desert. Palmyra, Syria. Rising like a glorious mirage in the burning sand sea of the Syrian desert, the bride of the desert once stood alone, left to the hot winds that swept over it for many centuries. From a small oasis, this place slowly became a wealthy center on the Silk Road, where camel caravans carried incense, silk, spices, and precious goods through the desert. That prosperity helped the city reach more than 200,000 people at one time, with a colonnaded avenue about 3,600 feet long, the Temple of Bel spreading like a giant square, and tall tombs rising from the sand. Palmyra's power became even clearer under Queen Zenobia, who once challenged Rome and turned this city into a symbol of ambition in a desert kingdom. But after war, decline, and centuries of being forgotten, the remaining ruins feel like a stone reminder of a city once rich, yet still unable to escape disappearance. Knossos, Greece. Beneath the dry earth of Crete, this place slept for thousands of years, carrying the legend of the maze where the Minotaur monster was trapped. Even with progress far ahead of its time, this Minoan center declined quickly, leaving the question of whether it was struck down by a volcanic tsunami, earthquakes, or outside invaders. At its peak, the palace covered about 151,000 square feet, with more than 1,300 rooms, many complex corridors, and a water system with clay pipes, light wells, and very early toilet design. After the first traces appeared in 1878, Arthur Evans began major excavations in 1900 and helped the world see a palace once mistaken for myth. Knossos was once the great capital of the Minoan civilization, linked to King Minos, bright wall paintings, and mysterious bull rituals that still fascinate people today. Cahokia, USA. Hidden under green grass across the wide plains of America, this place was once mistaken for natural hills scattered across a quiet prairie. By the 19th century, archaeologists realized these were not works of nature, but human-made traces of a large ancient city. At the center of the city was Monk's Mound, a human-made earth mound about 100 feet high and covering more than 14 acres, built over many generations with soil and human labor. Around it once stood a great plaza, residential areas, wooden palisades, and an ancient circle of wooden posts used to track the sun and the seasons. But after environmental, social, and resource pressures, Cahokia slowly declined and was left behind, leaving one question: why did such a powerful indigenous city disappear from ancient America? Nan Madol, Micronesia. Standing alone in the vast Pacific Ocean, this place is a strange stone city built on submerged coral reefs. The ruins were once forgotten in the empty ocean until 1874, when a Polish oceanographer recorded them in detail and brought them more attention. It was once the royal capital of the Sodalur dynasty, a mysterious floating city often called the eighth wonder of the world. The whole complex covers about 200 acres, with about 92 artificial islands linked by canals and built from thousands of basalt columns weighing up to many tons. The hardest question is how ancient people moved and stacked that huge amount of stone in the open sea without wheels or modern machines. Ciudad Perdida, Colombia. Deep in the humid jungle of Colombia, this place hides on a mountain slope about 3,900 feet high, like a stone city covered by trees for centuries. Built by the Tairona people around 800 AD, the city covers more than 74 acres, with 169 stone steps carved into the mountainside and many complex trails. In 1972, treasure hunters accidentally found ancient stone platforms, and only after that did this lost city slowly draw the attention of archaeologists. To reach it, visitors must hike about 27 miles round trip, crossing deep forest, rivers, mud, and the hot, humid air of Colombia's mountains. But what makes Ciudad Perdida even more mysterious is why a city that may have held thousands of people was abandoned in the jungle, leaving nature to quietly swallow it in silence. Volubilis, Morocco. Among wide fields below the mountains of Morocco, this place was once a distant Roman outpost on the southwestern edge of Africa. The city grew strong through olive oil, wheat, and an important trade position, helping it become a wealthy Roman urban center. At its peak, Volubilis, covered about 104 acres, had walls about 1.6 miles long and may have held around 20,000 residents. That glory can still be seen in the Arch of Caracalla, built in 217, its temples, public baths, and villas decorated with detailed mosaics. But after earthquakes, political change, and the weakening of Roman power, the city was slowly left behind, becoming a stone memory of a time when Rome reached deep into Africa. Teotihuacan, a giant city that once glowed deep red under the sun, now survives only as an enormous ruin, where its unknown builders disappeared and left behind almost no writing at all. In the 5th century, this place may have held about 200,000 people, and its scale was so overwhelming that when the Aztecs saw it, they believed it was the place where humans became gods. The skyline is ruled by the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon, two massive structures rising like artificial mountains, with the Pyramid of the Sun reaching about 213 feet high. The backbone of the city is a stepped avenue about 131 feet wide and nearly 2 miles long, creating the feeling of a giant stone stairway leading straight into the sky. Around that central axis stand more than 2,000 apartment compounds arranged like a mathematical grid, so precise that even a natural river was redirected to flow in line with the city's order. Then, after a devastating fire around the 8th century, the empire collapsed and left behind a silent legacy that still challenges modern ideas about the power and engineering of the ancient world. Great Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe. Under the windy, sunlit sky of southern Africa, Great Zimbabwe appears like the ruins of a forgotten stone kingdom, once a powerful trade center from the 11th to the 15th century. Its stone walls rise up to 36 feet high, nearly 16 feet thick, and curve for more than 820 feet, built from millions of stones without mortar, leaving a major mystery about ancient construction skill. Inside the narrow, dark stone passages, visitors must lower their heads as they pass through, creating a feeling that is both oppressive and mysterious, like entering the center of ancient power. Strange stone bird statues, a cave that amplifies sound, and long debates about the origin of the structure make Great Zimbabwe one of Africa's most mysterious ruins. By the 15th century, the city of about 20,000 people was suddenly abandoned with almost no trace of war or massacre, leaving the disappearance of this civilization as an unanswered question. Chan Chan, Peru. Standing alone on the dry desert coast of Peru, this place is a giant mud brick city, like a huge maze still fighting against the wear of time. After the Chimu kingdom was defeated by the Inca in the 15th century, this splendid capital was slowly forgotten and covered by desert winds and sand for hundreds of years. At its peak, Chan Chan covered about 8 square miles, with palaces, plazas, storage rooms, temples, and complex streets, so it is considered the largest earthen city in the world. That huge scale can still be seen in 9 strong palace complexes, each like its own center of power, surrounded by earthen walls reaching up to 33 feet high in some places. On the mud walls, fish, seabirds, and waves were carved everywhere, showing that even in the desert, the people here were deeply tied to the sea. Mesa Verde, USA. Among the dry canyon cliffs of the American Southwest, Mesa Verde appears like a stone city hanging in the air, where ancient people once left the mesa top to live inside steep rock alcoves. Archaeological attention began in 1874 when William Henry Jackson recorded the cliff dwellings before many structures were disturbed and artifacts were taken in the late 19th century. The homes were built from sandstone, matching the cliff color, allowing them to blend almost into the landscape and possibly hide residents from danger. The move down to the cliff edge in the 13th century raises a major question about drought, conflict, and fear that may have pushed communities toward a harder but safer life. In that cramped space, homes, storage rooms, and burials stood close together, making Mesa Verde quiet evidence of a society that adapted, endured, and then disappeared. Derinkuyu, Turkey. Beneath the dry land of Cappadocia, this place feels like a secret maze where an entire city once hid deep inside the rock to escape war and invaders. People accidentally discovered this underground city in 1963, when a local man broke a wall inside his house and found a passage leading down to ancient rooms behind it. Inside, Derinkuyu may reach about 279 feet deep, with many levels containing living rooms, animal shelters, churches, wine cellars, wells, and an air system reaching down into the earth. When danger came, thousands of people could live underground for long periods, then use huge, round stone doors to block the entrances from the inside. Even today, this place still amazes people because no one fully understands how ancient builders dug, ventilated, and organized such a vast underground world. Skara Brae, Scotland. Hidden beneath quiet sand dunes on the windy Orkney Islands, this place slept for thousands of years before nature woke it up. In 1850, a violent storm swept across the coast, carried away the grass and soil, and revealed stone houses that were shockingly well preserved. Skara Brae is a settlement built more than 5,200 years ago, which means it is older than the Great Pyramids of Egypt. Protected by buried sand, the site still keeps houses linked by covered passages, with beds, cupboards, and fireplaces made from carefully shaped stone. But even today, the question that still troubles scientists is why its people left, abandoning their belongings and letting their strong village be buried by sand. Taxila, Pakistan. Located on an ancient route linking South Asia with Central Asia, this place was once a great cradle where Eastern and Western cultures met. Because of that important position, it drew the attention of many great kingdoms, most famously during the conquest of Alexander the Great in 326 BC. Taxila was an ancient super-city, often remembered as the home of one of humanity's earliest centers of learning, with a history of more than 2,500 years. This center of knowledge once attracted more than 10,000 scholars from across Asia to study over 60 different fields, from astronomy and medicine to law and military science. But after heavy destruction from foreign invasions in the 5th century, that brilliant center of civilization collapsed, leaving only ancient stone stupas standing quietly under the open sky. Carthage, Tunisia. On the coast of North Africa, Carthage appears like the ruins of a maritime empire that once controlled Mediterranean trade routes before Rome erased it from the map. Its power rested in a circular military harbor that could hide up to 220 warships, leaving enemies unsure whether the fleet was sleeping or ready to strike. To hold its huge population, the city developed buildings up to 6 stories high, creating a crowded but highly advanced urban world of antiquity. The darkest mystery lies in rows of urns holding the ashes of children, evidence that makes the debate over Carthaginian sacrifice heavier than simple wartime propaganda. After defeat, their library and written memory disappeared, while the great harbor that once terrified the Mediterranean is now only still water, like the trace of a civilization silenced by time. Akrotiri, Greece. On the windy island of Santorini, this place was once a bright prehistoric city, but it was buried under volcanic ash for thousands of years. About 3,600 years ago, the massive eruption of Thera volcano covered the whole city, helping many structures inside remain almost perfectly preserved. Inside the ruins, archaeologists found multi-story houses, paved streets, a drainage system, pottery, and colorful wall paintings showing that life here was once highly developed. The strange thing is that almost no human bodies were found in the city. So many researchers believe Akrotiri's people may have escaped before the disaster struck. What makes this place even more mysterious is how the people of Akrotiri noticed the danger in time to leave, abandoning an almost perfectly preserved city under volcanic ash. Leptis Magna, Libya. Swallowed by the Sahara sands for more than 1,000 years, this place appears like a Roman city buried by time and suddenly brought back to life from the desert. Only in the 1920s did archaeologists uncover the thick sand layers and awaken an ancient city that seemed to survive only in legend. It was once a Roman super-city where Emperor Septimius Severus poured huge money and effort into turning his homeland into a center of power in the 3rd century. That glory can still be seen in its baths, covering about 16,000 square feet, its underground heating system, its seaside arena that once held about 16,000 spectators, and its great marble-covered buildings. Yet even after such strength and beauty, the city declined quickly, leaving one question behind. Why did a great city vanish beneath the desert storms? Mohenjo-Daro, Pakistan. Carrying the name Mound of the Dead, Mohenjo-Daro appears like a 4,500-year-old megacity buried by silt and time after a mysterious disappearance. The strangest thing is that in such a large city, archaeology has found almost no royal palace, power tomb, or major weapon store, proving rule by violence. Their script of more than 400 signs is still undeciphered, leaving the voice, laws, and beliefs of an entire civilization locked behind small seals. Skeletons scattered on the streets make the mystery heavier because they suggest residents may have faced a sudden disaster before the city was abandoned. At the center of the city, the Great Bath sealed with bitumen shows a developed spiritual and social order, but the reason for Mohenjo-Daro's collapse still has no final answer. Persepolis, Iran. The hot, dry land of southern Iran was where Persepolis rose not only as the ceremonial capital of Persia, but as a stage of power carved into stone for the whole empire to look up to. Reliefs of 23 delegations carrying gifts and tens of thousands of clay tablets about food and wages show that this place once worked through a refined administrative order, not only through force. But that symbolic center was burned by Alexander the Great, perhaps not only because of drunken anger, but as a psychological strike meant to break the political soul of Persia. After the fire, the treasure required 10,000 mules and 5,000 camels to carry away, yet legend still says hidden chambers beneath the mountain have never been found. Empty royal tombs, vanished mummies, and treasure with an unknown fate make Persepolis the ruin of an empire burned by fire but still unwilling to release its secrets. Chichen Itza, an ancient supercity covering about 4 square miles, lies hidden in the forests of Yucatan, appearing like a giant stone computer built by the Maya to move in harmony with the universe. At the heart of this wonder stands the stepped pyramid, with a total of 365 steps, and on the spring and autumn equinoxes, sunlight creates the illusion of a giant serpent crawling down to the ground. In another part of the city, thousands of square stone columns stand in perfect rows across a vast plaza, and each one is carved with the image of a warrior, pointing a weapon. Even the ancient ball court was built with a strange acoustic effect, where a soft voice can travel far, and every match was tied to a haunting act of sacrifice. And because the city stood on limestone land, with almost no surface rivers, the deep blue sinkholes became sources of water, gateways to the underworld, and places where offerings were given to the gods. It is this mix of scale, mathematics, astronomy, and belief that helped the site become one of the new 7 wonders of the world in 2007, and also a UNESCO World Heritage Site.